I was going to wear my Dallas Cowboy hat to do this, but they don't deserve it today, which means I have to start with my preseason prediction. I have to reemphasize this. I have to put it up in lights because the team I'm going to talk about first deserves for me to talk about them first. I hate the Philadelphia Eagles, but I knew it from the start. I predicted it from before the season kicked off. They're going to win the Super Bowl. They showed you again today. They have two things. They have the best defense in pro football. They have the best offensive line in pro football, which opens holes for, at the moment, the best back in pro football, who's about to make pro football history next Sunday at home against the Giants, because I'm pretty sure Saquon Barkley can go for over 101 yards, and I'm pretty sure he is going to, unfortunately for my friend Eric Dickerson, run right past Eric's all-time single-season record. I predict that Saquon will break the record against those Giants. They looked a little better at their place today. But these Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl because Howie Roseman won the offseason. I kept saying the Philadelphia Eagles won free agency, then they won the draft. And they're going to win the Super Bowl because they have Howie Roseman, and the Dallas Cowboys, my Dallas Cowboys, are still stuck with Gerald Wayne Jones Jr., Daddy Warbucks. Big bucks paid to overpaid stars, but spent nothing, went miser in free agency, while Howie Roseman went out and got him a Saquon. Howie Roseman went out and got him a Zach Bond, who's become the flashpoint of their defense, but he also went and got back C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who picked off Cooper Rush twice today, picked six the other one. And I'm going to say it again. I've been saying it from the start. Everywhere C.J. Gardner-Johnson goes, winning happens. He is the best playmaking ball hawk safety in football. Ask Tom Brady what C.J. used to do to Tom Brady when he was a New Orleans Saint. Played like a saint against Tom Brady. Made Brady look like a sinner. How many big picks did he have against Tom Brady? How many times did New Orleans just torment Tom Brady? They owned Tom Brady when he was in Tampa, even though Tom broke through and won the Super Bowl by beating Drew Brees at New Orleans. That was a pretty shocking upset. C.J. Gardner-Johnson has given this defense a new spark plug that it didn't have last year. He went back to Philadelphia, and they went right back to the top of the league in defense. And I'm here to tell you about the Eagles. If you look hard, they're 13-3 now. If you look hard at their three losses, they had Kirk Cousins and the Falcons beat in that Monday night game at Philadelphia, remember, early in the year. And Saquon had one bad moment all year. Jalen Hurts rolled out, hit him with a little pop pass in the flat. All he has to do is catch it, run with it, game's over. And he dropped it. And Kirk Cousins, the door was open, and as Kirk Cousins occasionally does, he pulled a miracle out of his hat, and it was 22-21 Falcons, and you could look back as that game as the upset of the year. The game that the Eagles lost, where they got their butts kicked, was by Baker Mayfield because he did it to Detroit at Detroit. Baker Mayfield is having a year. Baker Mayfield today threw for 359 yards, went 27 of 32 for 359, 5 touchdowns and no interceptions, albeit against Carolina. But still, Mike Evans, the most underrated, unheralded, underhyped receiver in the history of pro football, caught 8 more for 97 and 2 more touchdowns. Well, they did a number on Philly in Tampa. It was 33-16, and in that game, Baker was sensational. He threw for 347 against the best defense in pro football, 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. 33-16 Baker over Jalen Hurts. And then the third game was obviously last week at Washington that the Eagles lost. And if you watched it, I watched it, it's 21-7 Eagles. The Eagles are having their way with the Commanders. And Jalen goes down. He went head first into a little slide, but he's on the ground. Frankie Louvu comes flying in and hits him helmet to helmet on the ground, even though it was helmet first. A flag should have flown on that one. We should have seen 5 flags flying in Louvu's direction. No flags flew. Jalen Hurts concussed. Jalen Hurts obviously missed the game today against Dallas. That game, unbelievably, was dropped, was unflexed, was pushed back from the big 4:25 Eastern slot, the marquee matchup, which it should have been, but obviously it was even pushed back before Jalen was declared out. But if you don't have Jalen, you don't have Dak, CeeDee, shut down for the rest of the year. So it was just another ho-hum game that should have been the game that was circled on my calendar as a big game, late game in the season. But they just crushed us today because they have the best defense, they have the best offensive line, and they had Saquon today, and he goes 31 carries. A lot of carries, but I knew it was coming. I tweeted at the first of the game, hold him to under 100. And he goes 31 for 167. That's 5.4 yards per rush. So he only needs 101 yards against the Giants, and I believe he will get it. But I just believe the Eagles are going to go win the Super Bowl. They should be up to 15-1 right now. That's what they should be because they blew they had the Washington game and they had the Kirk Cousins game. They should be 15-1, and Howie Roseman should be the runaway executive of the year. Jalen Hurts will come back, bigger, better than ever. I love this team. I love the fight in this team. And you see what the offensive line did to Micah Parsons? I just don't know how you can pay him. I don't know how you can make him the highest paid defensive player ever. He just doesn't do enough. He had 2 tackles today. He had no sacks today. He had 1 hit on the quarterback that I can't really... Oh, I know which one it was. It was the one that knocked the backup quarterback out. That's what it was. And he already had, obviously, Kenny Pickett already had bruised, or I don't know, probably got a cracked rib for all I know. But that was the one. It was kind of a late hit. I'm pretty sure that's what they gave him, the 1 hit on the quarterback. He had 1 tackle for loss on Gainwell just because it was a completely whiffed block, and he just sort of looked up and said, oh, I guess I should tackle him in the backfield. I don't see Micah wreck games the way he did in his first couple of years. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I don't want to see this team get deeper in salary cap hell by giving him the most money any defensive player has ever gotten, on top of Dak getting the most money any quarterback's ever gotten with his, 2-5 postseason record. It's just not good enough. I don't get it. This team, my team, has 1 player, and he was the reason that my team won 4 of the last 5 and should have won 5 out of 5 because of the Cincinnati block punt debacle. But CeeDee Lamb is it. He is the cornerstone of this team. He is the inspiration on and off the field for this team. And this team rose and shone over the last 5 games, not because they're playing for Mike McCarthy and Zimmer. Baloney. It's just a bunch of baloney. They were playing because CeeDee Lamb inspired them, because he's playing with a busted up shoulder. I still think it needs some cleanup surgery. Maybe they'll have it. They said they're just shutting him down so he can heal on his own without any procedures. But the point is, he busted his shoulder against Atlanta, and it never got to be the same. And he sucked it up. And even though they were just clean to a 1% shot at the playoffs, he played, and he played his ass off. He balled out because he is the ultimate baller. He's the one player on this team I trust. He is my light at the end of the tunnel. And you saw today, without him, Cooper Rush is pretty lost. He's throwing to little sawed-off Brandon Cooks. What is he, like 5'8"? He's throwing to Jake Ferguson, who hasn't been the same since he got concussed and missed a game. Maybe a little gun-shy out there, and I don't blame him. And a bunch of backup receivers. I still don't think Jalen Tolbert's very good. I think he's basically a wasted third-round pick. I didn't see much inspiration anywhere. Again, Saquon slowly but surely just ran wild on us. I didn't see, bring back Mike McCarthy kind of inspiration this time, because that came from CeeDee. He is the wellspring of inspiration. He is the leader of this team. He is the fire starter for this team. He is the one player on offense who makes everything happen, that makes Rico Dowdle happen. Even though Rico had a pretty good game today, he went 23 times for 104 yards, but we got annihilated by our arch rival. Baker Mayfield special. Aaron Rodgers washed. He's just washed. He went 12 of 18 for 112 yards at Buffalo. And the only significant play that he made was after one of his interceptions. He threw two. He had no touchdowns, two interceptions. He went over and had a late, was it on an interception, or I was barely watching the fumble return, but he had a late hit out of bounds. That was his one big contribution today, was a late hit out of bounds, as that team falls to 4-12 with all that talent. Two of the best receivers in football, and Aaron Rodgers is a wash. And the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. They got it going. They'll get Jalen back. They've got two of the best receivers themselves, as they rose and showed today. I assume they could get Dallas Goedert back at some point soon, but Calcaterra, who played for my Oklahoma Sooners, is pretty great. He made a lot of big catches for Baker and company going back, and Jalen when they were at OU. Calcaterra can play. The Eagles are loaded. Those two kids that they drafted, they got the two best corners in pro football. And the play of the day for me, as a fan, was watching Kevontae Turpin break loose on one long kickoff return. He's the best returner in pro football. And I thought he was gone. It did get called back. But I thought he was gone, and I thought he was gone. And all of a sudden, what's he wear, 33? It's Cooper DeJean. Is he 32 or 3? 33. He came flying out of nowhere, and he ran down and caught Kevontae Turpin, because Cooper DeJean can flat out fly, especially for a white guy. God. A white cornerback. Who knew? We haven't seen one in a while. Well, he's one of the top two. Quinyon Mitchell being the other one, who's become a shutdown corner as a rookie. They've got it all. As Greg Olson was saying, Zach Bond was the pickup of free agency. I think Gardner-Johnson's right there with him, and obviously Saquon. But the defensive pickup for the Eagles was, you can pick your poison, Dallas Cowboy fans, either CJ or Zach Bond. I mean, Zach Bond was a 100-yard dash guy. I think he placed in Wisconsin in the 100-meter dash when he was in high school. He was a great running back and a great basketball player, and look at him now as a third-round draft choice of the New Orleans Saints. There he is. And there go the Dallas Cowboys, and here come the Eagles. Super Bowl, here they come. I called it. I hate it.